Hey guys, what's up? Super Deathbot here again for the second review of this Marvel Legends wave. Just did a review of Star-Lord if you're interested in that, and now here is Angela. Um, I am not too familiar with what she is doing in the Marvel universe. Um, she's always been a really badass character, but I know her from Spawn, so I don't know how well that translated into the Marvel universe. I'm sure they wrote it in fine. Um, but overall, I think she is a really cool designed character, so I picked her up regardless of what I know about her in the Marvel Universe. I just know that she's in Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, not the movie, but the comic. So we'll begin here by talking about sculpt work and paint. I'm going to try and stay a little more on track and focusing on each category in the reviews because I notice I tend to jump around. So I will try to get better at that as time goes by and I do more reviews. So let's start with the face. I think she has a really nice sculpted face along with the paintwork on that face. Every face and everything sculpted in this wave seems to be not like far and above better than every other wave, but some very noticeable improvements. I mean, look at even the buckle on this one. It's actually painted a different color. Not much weathering, but I'll take that. It's sculpted and it looks like a normal belt would actually look. Her hair is sculpted very well, kind of in an action pose, but really, really cool. I mean, you could really do some nice custom work with stuff like this. The armored ears, they're not a hard plastic, so you're not going to chip them too much or anything, but they're not like super soft. They're kind of like a rubber, so they'll hold up. You won't be breaking them. They have a nice metallic shine on them. Both of them are sculpted very well. The armor, everything has nice detail in it. The paint is consistent. I mean, I think the body sculpt is maybe a little newer with some used parts, but she seems to be taller than most other female legends I have seen, and I'll put her at least next to Star-Lord so you can see the height difference. Good paintwork and sculpt work on the little belts here. Same thing on the legs. It's not my favorite kind of plastic when they do this, but really on all the armor, everything like that, her little scarf there, her gauntlets, the sword, the sheath, everything is, sculpted pretty well. I mean, whatever creative team worked on this line of legends, I hope that they get opportunities to do whatever they did on this wave. So let's get into a little articulation here. I'll take this off so you can see the actual articulation. We'll take that out too. Actually, I'll show you that before we begin. So, detail on this thing, not bad. Could use some paint work, but I'm not going to complain because, they gave you the metallic colors, and the sculpt work is pretty good. So, not too shabby. As for articulation, she seems to move around a little bit better than your standard female figures usually do. She doesn't have like an actual ab crunch, but the range of motion, from left and right, back and forth, is really good compared to most of the female figures that they give. Her arms are hindered a little bit by the armor, but I think the range of motion in her torso helps that. So, and the armor is not too hard. You can move it up a little bit so that it doesn't really hinder it too much. But I think you can get what you need out of her. It could be a little better, but I mean, what articulations on Marvel Legends couldn't be? She's got good wrist movement. She seems to only have single jointed elbows. I think especially because she has the gauntlets and stuff like that. But yeah, I think she only has a single joint on here. So still, I think you're going to be able to get the poses that you want. Clearly, those pieces on the arm are movable because I just did. The belt moves around pretty well, so no matter what pose you want to get her in, you can move that around. She has thigh swivel, which is always good to get into different positions. She definitely has double jointed knees. Range of motion on the ankle is also pretty good. So between the sculpt and the articulation, I mean, pretty solid female sculpt, which I like that they're getting into, because I feel like, you know, I've heard talk before that female characters don't sell as well and stuff like that, and it's like, gonna be honest, maybe if you didn't make them like so crappily articulated most of the time, they would sell better. I mean, there's a lot of female characters I love in the universe, but when you get a figure and there's no ab crunch, or you give every single girl figure high heels and they can't stand and they can't do anything, yeah, a lot of people don't want them because they can't do anything. So take a note from what you did here, and look, it's magic. They give flat shoes, and she does have ankle pivot, so she can actually stand. So, you know, whoever was responsible for that, congratulations. You know, you actually, you did what a female body should be. The articulation really does make this figure, I think, worth getting. It's, if you're into Marvel Legends stuff like that, and that's all you collect, I think you'll be really surprised at what you get out of her. I mean, if you collect, I collect some Figuarts and Mafex and all kinds of imports and stuff like that, so, I mean, the range of motion for Marvel Legends is never there, but she actually has some pretty solid articulation, so I think checking this figure out just for that, you know, may be worth it, especially with the ankle pivot, the flat feet, the really good sculpt work, stuff like that. I think they did a really good job. I like the color scheme. I like the purple with the gold. You know, and a lot of the female faces, I also don't like the way they do the eyes or the makeup and stuff like that. They end up looking really weird, but they did a actually really good job overall on everything with this figure. So I think even if you wanted to put a wash in the hair or something, that could help. But I mean, honestly, with a little lighting and stuff like that, the hair is sculpted so well that I don't think you really have to have it. The colors are really good. Everything is really solid on this figure. This is actually probably one of my favorite Legends maybe of all time, just because they did so well on it. And I like when they develop new bodies and new parts to help out with the figures. So she does come with 2 other axes that I'm sure she has in the comic. They are metallic painted and they have sculpted handles and stuff, but I gotta be honest, to me they look really, really weird. Maybe if you know more about the character or something like that, you'll want to use them, but I mean, even in her hands they look, I don't know, to me they just don't look right. Just a really, really weird design. I mean, even if that is how they look in the comic, that's a weird look in the comic, but it's kind of just blocky, and you could tell it came out of like a mold or something like that. The edges aren't too great, so for me, I am gonna give the naysay on that accessory. Not into it, don't care about it. It'll go in a bin somewhere, or probably in the trash. However, the sword is really cool, and her armor is really cool. So overall, so far, for me, this is the most solid figure in the wave. She does come with a Build-A-Figure piece, but I don't really care to build this figure either. But she's pretty awesome. So if you're into the character, or you're into checking out some of the new kind of modifications to the body that they made and stuff like that, I would pick her up. As far as size comparison, Star-Lord is 6 inches. And she is a considerable amount taller than he is. I'll give you a better view there. She is almost a head taller. Their feet are even, so she stands probably about 7 inches. As I go, I'm going to get better about angles and measurements and having all that stuff out there. So I'm just trying to get some of these reviews out to you guys so you can see this and get used to me and you know, getting this new stuff out to you. So overall, if you collect this kind of stuff, I would say pick up this figure, because for the price, she is awesome. And I also think I'm going to get another one, because I am going to steal her body to do a magic custom. So look for that, and I will be reviewing Nova next. Thanks.